viewers. How have you been? How are you doing? At least today we get to get some sunshine. We thank God for that. We're not freezing. So today I'm very happy to welcome you to my show. And we are honored to have a guest who is very knowledgeable on the subject matter we're going to talk about. But before I give him floor to introduce himself, let me remind you to click that subscribe button, like, share. Do not forget to subscribe. So, Victor, the floor is yours. Tell us something about yourself before we get rolling.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, salam alaikum, habari zenu, bonjour. My name is Victor Baba. I am an ordained minister at Reconcilers World Ministries, where I worship and I minister. But today I'll be putting on my wig as an international relations um, analyst, and I am an enthusiast of the next phase of Africa. Thank you.
Welcome. So let's get started. We're going to talk about natural resources in Africa. So Africa, as a continent, is endowed with natural resources, massive natural resources. And to note is that Africa has 53 of the most important minerals in the world. But when we look at the continent, we still remain in the state of poverty. Is it that these natural resources are a curse or a blessing to Africa?
Africa is widely seen as an Eldorado, a land for resource, a land for wealth by outsiders. And by outsiders, I mean people from other continents who have tremendously benefited from resources coming from Africa. I believe that Africa is a huge site of free gifts of nature. And of all these, maybe just to put statistics to this, I'll cite the fact that it is said that Africa is home to 120 billion barrel of oil reserves. Again, it said that Africa is home to almost 600 million uncultivated a piece of land. So if anything, if we were to take advantage of our 600 million uncultivated piece of land, this would mean that Africa would iron out the problem of food insecurity. But back to your question, is Africa's free gifts of nature a blessing or a misfortune? I wouldn't say that gifts are misfortunes or a curse. If anything, they should be a fortune to the people of Africa.
Yes.
But whether they are a fortune or a misfortune, that boils down to the people factor or the people a concept. And then again, there's governance. You can't talk about a proper utilization of resources without governance. And in governance, you have people. And maybe you should just allow me to point out a book that has been done by Daron Acemoglu and James Robinson in their groundbreaking body of work, Why States Fail, the Origins of Power, Prosperity, and Poverty. And to cut down to the chase, they say that most African governments in Africa, which are relics of the colonial regime, are extractive in nature. Extractive in nature in the sense that they put up political and economic institutions that extract, Africa's wealth for the few at the top of the food chain or the top echelon. So in that regard, from a governance perspective, and again from a historical perspective, because much of the African governance style is a replica of what we had during the colonial regime. So that plays a role as well. But then again, there's a people role in transforming Africa's gifts of nature into meaningful resources that can benefit a continent of 1.2 billion people.
Interesting. So before I talk about our people, let me come to the governance. You see, we are at the domestic level, we have our government. But again, we have the global system. And when we read the book by Kwame Nkrumah, Neocolonialism, the last stage of imperialism, yeah, the guy really blames capitalism or capitalistic system on what is happening to Africa. Do you concur with his sentiments that we have been caught in the capitalistic market system, whereby we have the multinational corporations, like the market system has been opened up, and so we see the mushrooming and proliferation of multinational corporations, and these multinational corporations are taking advantage of our resources because in the end, the profits of MNCs are repatriated back home. Do you agree with Kwame Nkrumah's sentiments?
I I beg to admit and submit that I agree and disagree. I agree in the sense that capitalism is a system that is built on exploitation, and for far too long, Africa has been exploited. Our gifts of nature have been exploited, and in that regard, I agree with Kwame Nkrumah. But then again, if you study history, you'll realize that long before capitalism gained prominence, the concept of exploitation has always existed. You look at the Greek economy. The Greek economy was built on slavery. The Roman economy, again, political economy, it was built on the backs and the sweat and blood of slaves. So this is a concept that has existed rather since time immemorial. So in that regard, I do agree that to an extent capitalism has played its role in terms of Africa's underdevelopment. But then again, looking at it with a critical lens, I beg to disagree.
Okay, okay. So again, looking at we talk about governance. You also talked about a people, yeah, and we see a population of 1.2 billion people on the continent. Do you mean that we have been unable, as a people, to use these resources to our advantage, or is there something lacking? We might be well endowed with the labor, but again, there are other conditionalities that must be met for us to use these resources sufficiently or fully. What is it that we are lacking to enable us exploit these resources to our advantage?
It comes down to human capital, and people essentially is human capital.
Yes.
Africa has a grave short supply of competency from a human capital perspective.
Really?
Skilled labor. And I
Really?
like the fact that Africa can never run short of labor, but the market is looking for skilled
No,
labor.
I beg to differ. I beg to differ. Africa is not short of skilled labor. Yeah? We have skilled persons. Why do we have brain drain? Why are people moving out of the continent to other continents? Skilled people, yeah? Except some of our laborers going to the Gulf states. Majority of migrants from Africa to other continents are skilled. Yeah? I don't think we are unskilled.
Let me tell you this, and this probably will shock you. I've been looking at the statistics, and Africa's access to high learning is equivalent to that of Indonesia. Are we together? So we're talking of Africa, a continent of 1.2 billion people. And we're talking of Indonesia, obviously a country in Asia with over 200 million population. I can't seem to wrap my head on the exact figures, but Indonesia has a population size of over 200 million people. Now, come to this statistic. Africa's access to high learning is equivalent to that of Indonesia. That tells you something. It tells you that we are lacking in skilled labor.
But you and I are skilled, right?
That's right.
Why are we not like venturing in whatever we're supposed to be doing if it is about skills? If it is about skills, we have skilled personnel. You are skilled.
That's right.
I am skilled. But still, we still continue being in the same state.
To address your question, there has to be an alignment between our institutions of high learning and the market. Yeah. Once this gap is breached, that's when we can have you and I maybe doing what we did in school. That's where the problem is. We have developed high learning institutions, but much of our economy is not developed. Of course, if you characterize the Kenyan economy, it is said that over 80% of the Kenyan economy is informal.
That's true.
Yes. So already you begin to see some differences or some discrepancies between what's happening in our schools and what's happening in the market.
Okay. We will come back. We go on a break shortly, but this is a heated debate that we are going to debate about it after the break. So, fellow viewers, do not leave. Sip water, sit, relax. We will be back.